Hey you guys, it's your girl T. So a lot of folks have been wanting to know my opinion on this whole situation concerning 12-year-old Tamir Rice. This took place in Cleveland, Ohio. And what's going on is that basically this young boy was out there waving around a realistic gun. It didn't have the orange safety tip on there. The caller called 911 saying that there's a young boy out there waving a gun. He assumed that it was fake, but just in case, somebody needs to come and check it out. Well, then soon after that, in the video that was released, you see the police officers pulling up. The dude has barely gotten out the car. They say something to the boy, and all of a sudden a shot is fired, and the young boy ends up falling on the ground. He later dies in the hospital. So a lot of folks are really upset about this. A lot of folks are saying that they want there to be a federal investigation. They don't want it handled by the police department there in Cleveland. And then on top of that, with everything that's going on with the Mike Brown situation, there's a lot of tension right now between civilians and police, black, white, and everything else. So this situation really disturbed me because, as you guys know, I have two young boys. And, with boys, they do like playing with toy guns and, playing Call of Duty and all that other stuff. But with that being said, I don't buy toy guns for my kids. I don't allow them to play with toy guns just for the fact that there's just too much room for error nowadays. It's not like when we were young, when you would see a young kid with like a toy gun. A lot of times it was silver and brown. You could tell it was a toy gun. Kids are like, bang, bang, you're playing cops and robbers. It's not like that nowadays. Nowadays, you have kids out here with these Airsoft guns, BB guns, and they look very realistic, especially if they don't have that orange tip on the gun. So I just feel like there's just too much room for error. So I don't allow them to play with guns. I don't buy them guns. If you want to shoot a gun, you can play on Call of Duty. You will not be walking around the neighborhood with a fake gun on you just for the fact that these officers, it's to the point now where I feel like they don't even want to know if the gun is real or not. They're just trigger happy. Because I don't understand how a police officer jumps out the car and your first thought is to shoot a 12-year-old kid. The kid, it wasn't like he was a huge 12-year-old. He looked all but 12. He looked very young. And I'm not saying that 12-year-olds can't be killers and can't shoot cops. But come on, how likely is that scenario? And then a lot of folks are saying, well, it's Tamir's fault. Why didn't he, raise his hands? Why did he go and reach for his gun? He was just being a silly kid. Oh, well. But that's sad, though. That's a 12-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, we all make mistakes. I don't understand what's wrong with the dogs that they forget how it is to be a kid. Think back to when you were 12 years old, okay? A lot of times with little kids, especially when they know that they might be doing something that they shouldn't be doing, like him being out there waving a gun or whatever. A lot of times with kids, they kind of misinterpret things. Because when you think about when you tell somebody to put their hands up, as an adult, like if it's me, I'm just like, I'm trying to surrender, don't shoot me, I'm putting my hands up. But sometimes with kids, when you tell them something like that, like to put your hands up, in a 12-year-old mind, they're going to think, well, if I put my hands up, that means I'm guilty. But I didn't do anything. Let me show you this gun. It's right here. It's not real. Boom. He shot. And I really think that that's what happened. I don't think that he was reaching for it to, shoot at the officer. He was reaching at it because he felt like, I don't want to put my hands up because I didn't do anything. I don't even understand what's going on. I don't understand where you guys came from. But let me show you. My gun is not real. That's how kids think. Kids don't have the comprehension to think that, what, if I reach for this gun and I go to show the officer, he might shoot me. He's thinking, let me show him that it's not real so I don't get in trouble because I know when I get home, my mom's going to yell at me. She thinks this is a real gun. That's how kids think. And too many adults are, shaming and forgetting what it is to be a kid. Kids just don't think things through. At the end of the day, this boy is 12 years old. He didn't deserve to lose his life over something as stupid as waving around a fake Airsoft gun. And from what I'm hearing, there weren't even bullets in the gun. He was just waving the gun around and, probably playing with himself. So I just find the whole situation is really, really tragic. They're saying that the police officer who shot him is 26-year-old Officer Timothy Loman. I read in another article that basically he was initially a beat cop. He was tired of being a beat cop. This was his first week, I guess, doing patrol. And, maybe he had a lot of anxiety, super excited for action. So he may have thought, wow, a 12-year-old with a gun, I'm ready to, he was like on adrenaline because he had been like a beat cop. And, there was no action happening where he initially came from. And I just think that he just reacted too fast. He wasn't thinking. And then from other reports, they're saying that they didn't even give this boy any type of medical treatment. It wasn't until like a FBI agent or something somebody like that ended up pulling up that they were giving him treatment. So this whole situation is just insane, and I just feel like it's going to cause even more of a divide, even more chaos between the races and things like that. It's just sad that just so many tragedies are happening around America, especially concerning black youth and the police. You know, for a 12-year-old to make a mistake of playing with an airsoft gun and reaching for it, and for him to lose his life, it's not okay. You know what I'm saying? And we should never make excuses for that. We should never say that it's okay. We have to learn from this. I'm not saying that the officer did it on purpose, but he was damn sure careless, and he damn sure didn't have to take it to that extreme. You know, whatever happened to shooting people in their hand, shooting them in their foot, you know, is that just movies? Because when I was growing up, I don't recall all these people getting shot by police and dying. And if there was a shootout, it seemed like the police were always aiming for the hand or the foot. So at least the robber could either try and get away, if not get away, at least still, you know, live. But now it seems like the police are like shooting to kill. I mean, they're aiming for internal organs. They're aiming for your head. I mean, it's really scary out here. It's like you have to be on your P's and Q's. You know, so I just think that especially if you have boys, you have to talk to them, let them know, like, they're not playing anymore. You can't even be a kid nowadays and be out here with a gun because somebody can just assume it's real. Another thing that bothers me, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but come on, Ohio, this is the third case of somebody in Ohio calling about a gun, calling about some suspicious activity, and then it ends up being that it was just a fake gun and there was really nothing suspicious, but every last person died. You guys, I remember John Crawford. Somebody, you know, called on him, said he was waving a gun in the aisle and, you know, trying to shoot folks. The police came in with tactical gear and all that shit. Ended up shooting this man. He didn't even know what happened. He didn't even know what hit him. And he ended up dying right there in Walmart. So I don't know what's up with people, you know, automatically calling the police out there in Ohio. And, you know, all these weird gun cases, you know, involving black people and fake guns. And, you know, it's just really weird. This is like the third story from Ohio. When I heard he was from Ohio, I'm like, damn, again? Somebody else called the police. It ends up being a fake gun and another person, you know, gets hurt, died, gets accused. You know, the whole situation is just a mess. So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this entire situation concerning 12-year-old Tamir. What do you think he was thinking at the time? Do you feel like he was trying to, you know, pull the gun out to supposedly threaten the police? Or do you feel like it's what I said, where he was pulling it to possibly show them, like, look, this is a fake gun. I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, and what do you think should happen to this officer now? You know, because now it's starting another case. You know, we have the whole Ferguson situation fresh on everybody's mind. You think this man will be indicted for the murder of Tamir Rice? So anyways, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. All right. Deuces.